Well, finally, here I am on the trail. It's a dogwood trail. It's almost a mile and a half, I believe. And yeah, it's pretty cool out here. Coming from that direction there. It does have a little bit up and down grade, not bad, but yeah. This is going to be awesome out here. Nice, peaceful and quiet. Hear the birds chirping. Hopefully we'll come across some wildlife out here. But I wanted to do a little short video. Get you to walk with me here a little bit on the trail. Kind of check it out. This is awesome. If you ever had a chance to come up to Lake Sandlin State Park, do so. It's a beautiful place. Got places to tent camp, bring a trailer, RV, hike some trails, get you a cabin or a screen shelter. A little bit of an obstacle course through here, but not bad. Definitely want to watch where you're walking, or you might wind up down there, which probably wouldn't be no fun. I always like to walk a little bit and kind of stop and look around. Sometimes you see some pretty cool things out here. And I don't know if I'm the first person out here walking the trail this morning or what, but I just hit a spider web. Oh, there's another one I just went through. Yeah. Okay, well, watching the ground where I'm walking, maybe I better raise my sight a little bit higher, because I just walked through a damn spider web right there. Hopefully I don't got no spiders on me. Oh, I love it. I love it. If my daughter was here, yeah, she'd be laughing. She'd be right back there behind me, letting me eat all the spider webs. And yeah, no, not very tasty, but interesting. Definitely interesting. Actually, I need something that I can rig up to kind of mount to my hat that'll stick out in front of me. About maybe 15 inches with I don't know, something kind of hanging down across the front of it. That way when I walk into a spider web, it'll get it before my face. Yep, there's another one. Nope, evidently I'm the first one on the trail. So, by the time I get to the end of the trail, I might be wrapped up like a cocoon. But yeah, you gotta watch where you're walking because of all the roots and kind of the drop off and things like that, so you don't trip and fall. But yet, if you're the first one out here on the trail, go ahead and figure you're going to be running into some spider webs. Man, they're so small you can't even see them. But you can sure feel them when you walk through them. Alright, that kind of gives you a sneak peek preview, but I'm going to have to put the phone down. That way I can put my one hand out in front of me, kind of waving around to get the spider webs before my face does. But hey, hope you enjoyed that little bit of a preview. And yeah, be sure to subscribe to my channel, The Camping Life with Tim. And that way when these videos come out, hey, you might get to have a good laugh. Let's go ahead and walk the rest of the trail. Spider webs. Got some little bridges here. Of course, like I say, you got to watch where you're walking because there's ditches where the water runs off down through here. Roots sticking above the ground. All kinds of spider webs and everything else. Not much in the way of water running down through here. Looks like we're going to need to replace some boards on the bridge here before long. Need to get me a stick or something to kind of wave in front of me. Oh, this is beautiful. And I'm sure this camera is not justifying the color of everything. I have to do a little bit of research and see if there's a way to adjust this body cam to get me better quality of picture. I've got a nice little climb up here. Oh man, spider webs. Come here, stick. I need you. You see a stick right out here in front of me? That's why. Well, they call this an easy trail. Yeah, pretty much, but I would say it's kind of moderate in some areas. You know, so if you're an older person that like to get on trails, you know, you might want to be in a little bit better shape on some of these areas. But definitely watch your footing where you're going. And I'm going to take my time here, because if not, my leg will get to hurting. Not to mention I'll wear myself out real quick. I ain't young like I used to be, but 70, well, now I'm 74 years old. Just had a birthday. But, yeah, I still love doing this. I'm mounted on my head like this, and it look like antlers sticking out in front of me. Oh, Lord. Alright, we're at a split here, which don't see nothing much in the way of markers, but I would say that this is probably the cut that goes across from one side to the other. Oh, get somebody coming. Maybe they took out the spider webs for me.
Good morning.
Good morning. Y'all clear out the spider webs that way for me?
We sure did.
Well, I got you covered that way. I've already taken out all those, I think. You get to meet some interesting people out here on the trails. Well, maybe I'm good for a while in spiders. Hopefully they got them all. I took care of that part for them, so maybe they took care of this part for me. Yeah, my daughter Renee, she would love hiking this trail with me, but a little too far for her to come just for the day to come up and go trail hiking with me. But yeah, 'cause she's probably, well, not probably, she is about an hour and 40 minutes, I believe, from home to here. I don't know, I'm wanting to say this is Beautyberry maybe? Tree. It's flowering. I am seeing a few bugs out here. I'm not sure whether they're mosquitoes or other bugs, but if I stop and stand still, they kind of come over around me. I have seen a couple benches along the trail, but it's usually, from what I can see, it's at a junction or a split where the trail kind of goes different directions. Another bridge. Pretty solid. Now, when I come across a spot where they got a bridge, I always like to kind of take it easy going across them, kind of check it out and make sure none of the boards are rotted out and it's good and sturdy. But so far, overall, they're in good shape. Except I did see one of the boards is kind of rotting out a little bit. It had a hole where part of it was missing. Not big enough to fall through, but you know, I kind of step over that board because I don't know if the rest of it's going to break or not. It's almost spooky, as quiet as it is. But hiking these trails, it's just surreal. It's almost like you're dreaming it or in another world. I'm not sure what that is down there. Some kind of a shack, or I don't know if that's like a outhouse maybe. Not sure what that is. It might be an outhouse because we should be getting close to the primitive campsites, which I'll bet there'll be a trail up here that will go across over into there somewhere, and that might be the primitive campsites back that way, because it does say that there is an outhouse out here for the primitive campers. And I would say we may have already come a quarter of a mile, because it says it's between a quarter and can't remember. I think it said a quarter to a half a mile for these sites, or it might have been a quarter mile to this one and then another half a mile to the second primitive campsite area. But yeah, you're gonna have to backpack everything in here, and if you're going to use a wagon to carry some of your stuff, make sure you get you one that has the bigger wheels, the all-terrain wheels, because anything got small wheels on it going over these roots and ditches and ruts, and probably won't last very long. I found that out the hard way on the first primitive campsite my grandsons and I went to at Purtis Creek. I had one of the, cheaper wagons, I guess, that had the smaller wheels, almost like a tricycle type wheel. And yeah, it bent that on the third trip going in and out from the vehicle to the campsite, so that didn't work out very well. But I got me another one, same size, but it's got the bigger tires to it. Haven't had the opportunity to use it yet to kind of give a review on it, on what I think, on the quality of it. But that day will come. Right now it's getting to where it's starting to be a little warm out here for camping in a tent, unless you can rig up some kind of a portable cooling unit, which I've been checking into that, because I'd rather be tent camping. It's just it's more being one with nature. Okay, yeah, we're at the primitive campsite. That's what that was. That's an outhouse back there. So let's walk back down here and kind of check it out. Yeah, we're at the split. Back down this way is primitive campsites, and that's on up the trail. And of course, that's the way we came. But let's check what it's like down here. If I remember correctly, I think there's 6 or 8 primitive campsites at each one of these, and there's 2 of them here. Primitive campsite, ground fire is prohibited, so you can't have no fire back here. But this is about what you're going to have. Basically, you're roughing it out here in the woods. Not a very big spot, but enough for a tent. And of course, you can bring you a grill or a propane stove. Or you just, bring you a bunch of lunch meat, or like sandwiches and, stuff like that you don't have to heat up. Yeah, we were just back over there And I saw this over here and couldn't figure out what it was, and then it just kind of dawned on me that maybe it's an outhouse. And that's what it is. Probably no electric, so it's going to be kind of like Purtis Creek in the primitive. You're going in there, you better bring a light with you, because either that or you're going to be in the dark. Well, I assume there's more camping spots on out around here, because all I see is one back down in here. They don't have them numbered or anything, so I do know that you cannot make a reservation for the primitive sites, so it's kind of first come, first serve. And on around the trail. Little baby pine trees. Of course, they're hard to see with all the other green. Yeah, you might be able to make it out. I don't know. Kind of blends in with everything. I don't see much in the way of big pines anywhere. Here and there. I was thinking maybe it's just little seedlings that fall off of a big tree, but right here where these are, I do not see any pine trees for it to fall off of, so I don't know. Maybe they planted seedlings out here to get some pines growing. A little downhill slope here. I don't know which worse, going down or going up. I do know that these trails are hiking and biking, so, you know, kind of be aware of that if you're out here hiking, that you may have some bikers coming up behind you or coming in front of you, which I prefer they come in front of me. I don't know if they have that multi-use rule here like they do in many of the state parks, where the bikers go clockwise and the hikers go counterclockwise. But then these trails are not a loop, so they're probably going to be going either way here. So they may be coming up behind you or coming towards you, but I mean, I find the ones that do come up behind me, they kind of holler at me before they get to me, to kind of a warning or let me know that they're coming. Now this bridge looks like it's been replaced not too long ago, so it's good and solid. Oh, this is beautiful. I kind of wish I would have gotten back into camping and getting out here in the wilderness, so to speak, a while back, because I could do this every day. course, I've been thinking real seriously about becoming like a park host at one of the state parks, where I can just live there on property, and you know, basically you're volunteering to, you know, help out, do things, you know, clean up campsites after people check out, maybe on trails where the trees are falling, kind of like this right here. Come out here and clean the paths up, maybe do some mowing, you know, make sure the bathhouses are clean, stuff like that. But hey, you get to live for free here on the property in your trailer, you know, so that would be pretty cool. And I'm not quite sure how long you'd have to stay at one particular park before possibly relocating to another one, or if you're basically working 7 days a week. It'd be nice if you were working like 5 days a week and then maybe have a day or two off, you know. That way I could go to a different park and do what I'm doing now, kind of doing a preview of the park, you know, the campsites, what the park has to offer, the day use area, some of the trails, you know, things to do at a state park. You know, that way people kind of get a heads up, I guess, in a way, if they plan on coming to the park to camp out or just come to spend the day. Kind of helps them a little bit better, you know, see what it has to offer and pricing, and maybe get them to come and spend a day with their family or friends. Or if you're like me, come by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy it. Of course, sometimes it is a little more fun if you have someone else with you to enjoy it, but, you know, I can go either way. Yeah, there's been a bike out here, I would say probably this morning. These look like pretty much fresh bike tracks coming through here, because it kind of rained on and off yesterday, and those tracks wouldn't have been there. They were basically kind of washed away or filled back in. So yeah, somebody's been out here bike riding this morning. Got, I don't know if you want to call these mushrooms, toadstools, whatever, but kind of an orange color. There's several of them right here. I see a lot of that in the state parks. Of course, y'all all the time going to see moss growing everywhere on the ground or on trees, or some of the dead wood is falling on the ground, but, you know, that's a kind of a food source for animals. Kind of like all the trees and the dead wood is laying on the ground. You know, I always wondered why they prohibited you from gathering any of it to burn at your campsite. But when I talked to one of the park rangers, they give me the reason for that, which, okay, that I can understand. But the reason for it is the dead trees that fall on the ground, it's like bugs nest in them. And, you know, then the animals, the birds, they come down and, hey, that's a meal for them. So, yeah, I can totally understand why they like to leave all this dead wood laying around. But because I always thought, you know, you'd want to get all this dead wood out of here in case of a fire, because to me that would be just like an accelerant, you know, feeding the fire, because dead wood will burn up quicker than new wood. So if you are a smoker, don't throw your cigarette on the ground. You know, if you kind of knock the end off, make sure it's out before you go on, and put the cigarette butt back in your pocket, please, because you can carry it back out. Kind of like trash. Don't throw your trash out here. Let's keep these parks beautiful, because you can carry it back out to your vehicle. Usually where you park, there's a dumpster there, or trash cans here and there to get rid of it. So, you know, as long as we can keep these parks looking great, more people are going to want to come and visit them. Well, back there where that primitive campsite is, and that outhouse, I really only saw one spot to set up a tent. So I guess out here you just kind of find your spot. A little bit muddy right through here. Yeah, still a little wet. But yeah, just find your spot and set up camp, I guess. Because I don't see any other clearings from that point to here other than that one. Unless I just wasn't paying attention and walked right by it and didn't see it. Which, that could be a possibility, because I'm kind of watching where I'm walking as well as looking around, see if I notice any wildlife or anything pretty cool to see. It'd be nice if there was a little bit of a breeze blowing, because, you know, after that rain, it is starting to get a little humid, and yeah, I feel that. It's not bad yet, but if that sun breaks out through them clouds, yeah, it's going to get probably a little bit on the miserable side out here. Take a little break up here somewhere and grab my drink. That's one thing. You want to make sure you have something to drink when you come on the trails, especially if you're on some of these trails that are, you know, a mile or longer. Because walking, you will get thirsty, especially if it's hot. Looks like some animal prints down here with the pine needles. Can't make out what they are, but as far as they are, I'd almost say deer, possibly. Yeah, I'm sorry for the camera kind of bouncing around, but it's kind of hard keeping it steady, because it's not like I can watch the camera to see how much movement I'm doing on it. I'm too busy watching all the roots on the ground and the spider webs in front of me, and things around me. You know, I'm not sure what I'm videoing. You might just be looking at trees up there in the top somewhere instead of down here on the path where we're walking. So don't hold it against me. It's not intentional. And I hope I come to another bench here where I can take a little break. Yeah, definitely my legs starting to feel it a little bit. I see some T-posts right there. I'm not sure exactly where the border line is for the park, but I don't see no fence going across it, so I'm not sure what that is.